I couldn't have predicted it. I couldn't have written that script. It's amazing to be here at this time, and you know, it's a beautiful time to be a Jag.
What a beautiful time to be a Jag. Welcome into Teal, the show. I'm Jamal St. Cyr alongside Frank Frangie. Frank, we're talking about a playoff game with the Jaguars. It truly is a beautiful time. When you think about the journey to get to this moment, back-to-back first overall picks, 0-5 in the month of October. This has been a long road, so we got to enjoy this one.
Well, first of all, I want the T-shirt. When Zay puts out the T-shirts, I want the "It's a Beautiful Time to Be a Jag" T-shirt, because that is magnificent. And it is, because fans have waited so long for this. That's the story, Jamal. Fans have waited and waited and waited for it to feel like it feels now, to feel like it felt last Saturday night, to feel like it's going to feel tomorrow night. We've waited a long time. You as a fan have waited a long time, and you deserve this.
And you know the best part of it? It feels like this is just the beginning of something. This isn't just a kind of one-year fluke kind of year. This feels like this could be the start. Let's start talking about the matchup, Frank. The Jaguars taking on the Chargers, going to host them. Only the 5th home playoff game in Jacksonville history. So I know the fans are going to be loud at the bank. These two teams played back in week 3. What can the team kind of learn from that?
Well, it's a totally different game than they just played. By the way, they're 3-1 in those previous 4 playoff games at home, so they've been very good. It's a totally different kind of matchup. The ball's going to be in the air. Justin Herbert's going to throw it a lot. Trevor Lawrence will throw it more. I think the Jags felt like they didn't need to throw it as much, at least the players. There wasn't this sense of urgency because you knew the Jets and the Texans and even the Titans offensively weren't going to go up and down the field. This team's going up and down the field. You know that. You know that from when you played them before. I think there's a pretty good chance you're going to see both teams up and down the field. I think the one thing you've learned is you got to get to Justin Herbert. You got to get him off his spot. That's the most important thing, I think, in defending the Los Angeles Chargers. Make him move around a little bit in the pocket.
Yeah, you touched on it briefly, and that the Jaguars offense has kind of been in that rut lately, but the team doesn't seem worried about being able to get back on the right foot this week.
We've done what's needed to win the last 3 weeks, and you know, you look at Houston and last week against Tennessee, definitely didn't play our best offensively, but you know, that's going to happen from week to week. There's always going to be stuff to clean up. You know, but I think minus a few plays, I think if a few plays go differently, you know, if we're a little sharper, or in my case, you know, hit a couple throws, game looks a lot different.
Now, while these teams are going to be matched up against one another, they actually both have some similarities. This is both teams' first trip back to the postseason. Both teams also have a young quarterback, and this is their first trip to the postseason. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. Frank, there's a lot of debate going around on which one of these guys is better, but you know what? The fans are the ones that are going to win this either way because you get to watch both of them compete.
It's amazing how similar these two guys are if you think about it. They're both 6'6". They're both about 230 pounds. They're both athletic. They both have big arms. They both have all the hair. They look the same. They play the same. They're very similar. Look at their numbers. One has 25 touchdowns and 10 picks. That's Herbert. One has 25 touchdowns and 8 picks. That's Trevor Lawrence. It's uncanny how similar they are. I think Trevor's got the bigger upside. I think he's got a little better arm. He's a little more fluid. So I think ultimately Trevor will be the better of the two players. Now I'm biased because I cover this team and I'm around this team a lot. But I think Trevor's the better of the two players. But look, they're both very good. The ball's going to be in the air a long time. Barring injury, this is two quarterbacks. I mean, it's going to be almost like Manning and Brady. They're going to do it together for a long, long time. And this is a round one of the postseason matchups. We'll see with these guys.
And, you know, we're not the only ones that are seeing the similarities in them. As the Jaguars' defensive staff started to prepare for this game, Mike Caldwell said he could start to see those similarities in Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence.
I was watching the clip, and I pointed out to the coaches. It was a back angle, and I was like, if you take the number off and you look, they have the same mannerisms. They look, you know, you take the number off, you couldn't tell one, the way they carry the ball when they're dropping back. So, you know, two big guys with strong arms and very good quarterbacks.
We actually touched on it just a second ago. Both of these teams don't have a ton of playoff experience. The Jaguars have some, but you know what? Their coaching staff has been there and done that. You talk about Doug Peterson, he has a Super Bowl ring. Offensive coordinator Press Taylor, Super Bowl ring. Defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell, Super Bowl ring. Also special teams coordinator Heath Farwell, Super Bowl ring. So while the players haven't done it, coaching staff has.
Let me tell you what else is a factor there, too. You're right about that, Jamal. Also, last week, the Chargers waded through a game that didn't matter very much, almost like the Jags the week before against the Texans. I think the Jags have what feels like playoff experience because of the way that game, the build-up for that game last week. That was a losing you're out game last week against the Titans. It was a playoff game. It was at night, same time, It was on a Saturday, same day. So I think dress rehearsal is too strong of a phrase, but I think last week's game really will serve the Jags well. This young Chargers team, Justin Herbert among them, has never been in this. They've never been in a end-of-the-year losing-you're-out game. The Jags were just in one week ago, so that will serve as playoff experience. I really believe that. That'll serve as some playoff experience. I think that helps the Jags that they were in that game last week. I really think that helps them.
Yeah, every little bit definitely helps to prepare this team in the locker room. Not worried that they don't have a ton of playoff experience because, as you mentioned, Frank, they've been playing in win-and-you're-in type of games for weeks now.
We've been in these situations where we had to win, or we wouldn't be here in this situation. And I feel like we're ready for that, we're prepared for that, and we all know what's at stake. So we got to go out there and just put our best foot forward and just play our best game and see what happens at the end.
A lot of guys got their first taste of elimination football. So I think everybody learned a lot Saturday night and fed off that energy, and probably it's going to be kind of the same atmosphere and same circumstances this Saturday. So I think last Saturday was enough for a good amount of guys, especially it was for me.
Well, this is the first step of what hopefully as many as the Jaguars start their championship chase on Saturday night. Coming up after the break as Teal the Show returns, we'll talk more about the Jaguars and Chargers matchup. That's coming up. Welcome back into Teal the Show. You know, Frank, this feels like a matchup where the Jaguars are probably going to have to score maybe 30 points if they're going to win. They did in the first go-around. 38-10 was the score back in week 3, but that feels like forever ago. But that same formula is probably going to have to happen again. They're going to have to put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, it feels like that kind of a game. An offensive game, again, the ball's going to be in the air a lot. Two things happen then. Number one, you can't give up possessions. That means you can't turn it over here. You got to take care of the ball because every possession is going to matter, and it may be that one more possession one of these two teams has that decides the game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. The ball's going to be in the air a lot, no question about that. I think you can count on that. I think you can't drop passes. You can't blow coverages because there's going to be so many points scored and so many touchdowns. I think that if you miss one of those possessions, that could decide the game. So you've got to be efficient, Jamal. I think this game, more than any other game, I don't think there's much room for error. You got to be efficient on Saturday night. Yeah,
and a guy that could be a big part of that efficiency is Evan Ingram. He was starting to kind of feel like he found his own early in the season back in that Week 3 matchup, really caught fire late in the year. Yeah. Those Chargers linebackers are something that you can kind of take advantage of in coverage.
And that's where he is a star, is matched up against a linebacker. He's even better than I thought he was. I didn't realize. I saw him a little bit with the Giants. He was hurt some. You never really saw how good he was when matched up against those linebackers. I'm telling you, he is a matchup nightmare for a linebacker to try and cover. I agree with you. I think this could be a game. 17 has a very big game for the Jaguars. We'll see.
Yeah, this Chargers offense, Frank, has a lot of different weapons on it. We can't not talk about the guys on the outside. Keenan Allen didn't play in Week 3. He's going to play this go-around, but apparently the Chargers have now ruled Mike Williams out, so that's at least a lift. So now the Jaguars will play him twice and have a different wide receiver each go-around.
Well, there's no question. And Keenan Allen is, like you say, a very good route runner, a savvy veteran guy. He's a guy, and now that he's going to be the main guy outside, you've got to be careful of him. He's a savvy guy. The Jaguars have young cornerbacks. Darius Williams is a young player. Tyson Campbell's a very young player. They're good players. Darius has been so much better since he moved outside, and Tyson Campbell's had a fantastic year. But they're young against a savvy veteran route runner like Keenan Allen. That's exactly what he is. You better keep an eye on him. I agree with you.
Now, we'll talk about those Chargers wide receivers, but we can't forget about Austin Eckler. Yeah. Caught a lot of passes this season, and he's also impactful in the running game. Eckler has been huge for the Chargers, so the Jaguars have to find a way to make sure that he stays contained.
There's very few backs in the league like him, Jamal. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey's like that. Austin Eckler's like that. They're small in such a way that they can find creases. They can get skinny. They know how to get through holes. It's just the opposite of Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor who are going to run downhill. That's not what he's going to do. And he's a really good pass catcher. He's one of the few backs that before the season you think he might have 1,000 yards both. Not many guys do that. So he's a very complete running back. You better believe, you better keep an eye on Austin Eckler.
Okay, this is a big one. We expect a handful of points. Frank, we've reached the point of the show where I'm going to put you at a crossroads. We kind of went a few weeks where you weren't going to pick the team, so that way that you'd do them a favor so they could win. You broke the streak, What are you going to do this week?
I was a jinx guy, okay?
You're the jinx guy. Yeah, I was trying not to say that and put that on you.
But I'm going to tell you what I think now, like I did last week. I think they're going to beat the Chargers. I think the Jaguars are better than the Chargers. And that's saying something because the Chargers have a good team. But I think the Jaguars have the better of the two teams. I think at night matters. That crowd matters. I think playing at home matters. I think the Chargers having to get on that plane matters. I think winning the division means everything because you get a home game. Look, Jamal, this is going to be a good game now. This is going deep into Saturday night. But when it's over, I think the Jaguars will have a few more points. I like the Jaguars at home against the Chargers.
I'm right there with you. I actually think that being in Jacksonville is the difference in this game. I think the Saturday night atmosphere at TIAA Bank Field is going to be electric. I think the crowd is going to be what pushes the Jaguars over the edge. It's going to be a close game. Going to go into the fourth quarter. Jaguars are going to have to score some points. I'm thinking 35-30 kind of ball game, that kind of game. But I think the crowd is really going to be the difference in this one. I think you at home can really be the difference if the Jaguars walk out of TIAA Bank Field with a win. Frank and I both feel pretty good about it. We'll see how it happens. That's why they got to play the game, right?
That's exactly. I can't wait for the game. I can't wait for this one.
This is a big one. It should be a fun one. Hey, don't forget, we've got live coverage right here on Channel 4 starting at 5 o'clock. We'll take you to 6 o'clock, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. Go online over on news4jax.com and News4Jax Plus at 6:30, and then carry you to 7:30 as we get you closer and closer to game time to make sure that you're playoff ready with everything you need to know before the Jaguars kick off. Frank, thanks for being here. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, and go Jags.